the anti-Semitic protests at Columbia University in New York, is now on the record saying, quote, "We could not have avoided Hamas's October 7th massacre." Take a listen to his disturbing comments.
To me, it felt frightening that we had to reach this moment in the Palestinian struggle. And I remember I didn't sleep for a number of days, and Noor was very worried about like just my health. It's clear like it's becoming more and more violent. Like, you know, by October 6th, over 200 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces and settlers. Over 40 of them were children. So that's what I mean by, like, unfortunately, we couldn't.
Wow. So talking about October 7th attacks and what led to them, the October 7th attacks in Israel killed 1,400 people. There was babies, murders, terrible atrocities. Well, there are now calls to deport Khalil immediately. Let's bring in our left-right panel to weigh in on his comments and other stories we're tracking for you today. On the right, we have host of the Ike Wingate Show, Ike Wingate. And on the left, pleased to have editor-in-chief over at the National Memo, Joe Conason. Joe, what happened on October the 7th? I have not seen the videos, but those who have witnessed the atrocities with babies and what played out in Gaza that day, I think it's really hard to hear Mahmoud Khalil talk about his health, his feelings on this. Why do you think he got a little sympathy there on that podcast and no pushback?
I have no idea. Look, if you listen to the entire video of that interview, it's not really clear what he was talking about, or even what he means when he says we. He seems to think, another way of looking at what he said is that he seems to think that the conflict had reached a point where, some kind of atrocious action, he does describe it as horrifying, by Hamas had become inevitable. I'm not justifying that comment. I don't agree with it. I think the actions of Hamas are horrible. I have watched those videos, but I don't think there's one clear interpretation of what he says in that video. And I also don't think that it's going to be about the business of deporting people for their opinions. I really don't. I think things that makes this a great country is you're allowed to believe something different from what the government believes and what other people believe without suffering deportation or punishment. I thought conservatives believed that too, Bianca, and apparently not.
So he obviously, like you said, if you watch the whole thing, I had heard enough. Like that's really horrifying, but he's not clear. And maybe he's just not even articulate and clear, but yet he goes on all these shows and he starts talking about this. And it builds into the problem that we have, the climate right now of anti-Semitism, which is exploding on college campuses, in our city streets like D.C., like we have Molotov cocktail attacks in Colorado Springs. Let me move forward, though. Let me talk about where the culture also may be coming from. We remember the pagers when Israel had Hezbollah, and they had the pager attacks to eradicate Hezbollah. Well, Democrat Congressman Richie Torres of New York is actually on the side against one of the AP articles on this, because AP has now put out an article where it says Hezbollah terrorists are struggling to recover from Israel's pager attack. So painting Hezbollah terrorists as the victims there. And even Democrat Torres, Ike, is saying, no, this is not the way to go. Let me get Ike in. Let me get Ike in on this conversation. I'll get you on the flip side, though. But it is the sentiment. Yeah, I know you think that Hezbollah are terrorists, but the AP headline is saying they're victims. And even Democrat Richie Torres is knowing that this is a place. Let's get Ike to. Joe, I don't want to mute your mic, but I will. I don't want to mute your mic, but I will. Ike, please pick up on this thread and the things Joe was just saying. We want to be fair to both panelists.
Sure. Yeah, Joe, I mean, calm down. We can have a conversation here and get some more information in the loop here. Hezbollah and Mahmoud Khalil, they're both trying to play the victim, and they have sensitive media that are sensitive to this plight that are allowing them these platforms. I mean, claiming that Hezbollah is some kind of victim after this pager operation is like saying poor bin Laden. After 9/11, he could not book vacation flights anymore. Boo hoo hoo. This has nothing to do with a basis in reality. Hezbollah is evil. Hamas is evil. What Khalil is talking about on that podcast, Joe, you're talking about free speech and conservatism. Well, there's no place in our society where somebody comes in and perpetuates hate and violence who's here, mind you, not as a permanent citizen. And so he has to adhere by some
That's the line,
with
yeah.
some layer of societal norms, and he's not.
I would love to give Joe 10 seconds here to respond, but I got to keep you to the time, Joe.
I'm totally calm. I'd like to keep to the time. I'd also like to know whether you actually read the AP article, which says nothing about the plight of terrorists. You showed a headline there and read it as if it said something about protecting terrorists. It says nothing of the kind. It talks about survivors, because when the page was exploded, a lot of other people were killed and harmed by that. And that's what the AP story is about. I suggest you go and read these stories before you
And they
cite them.
should. Yeah, no, we do. And apparently Democrat Richie Torres did too. Yes, we did. And the headline is enough to distinct all of it. Thank you for keeping to your time. Thank you, guys. Ike and Joe, good to see you both. And I'm sure we'll get all the mail here into the newsroom of this conversation. We'll have you back. Thanks, guys.